All right. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending on when you're watching this broadcast. This is the voice and face of Dr. Olabintan, CEO, founder, Living Spring Family Medical Center, where we help our patients live long and well because we believe the quality of life is just as important as the quantity of life. I'm super excited to have on here my friend, former classmate, current classmate, um,
I know.
Dr. Tamara Beckford. I'm really, really honored to have you here again, and this time discussing the topic self care. And so, without further ado, I'm going to hand over to you. And the first question is this: Dr. Tamara Beckford, who are you and what do you do?
Thank you for having me again on Dr. Tolu. So, as you mentioned, I am Dr. Tamara Beckford, and I am your former classmate. So, we went to
Yes.
medical school together, and we're currently also in class again because we love to elevate ourselves. So, I am the CEO and founder of Your Caring Docs. And with Your Caring Docs, we help our busy professional women put their health and wellness first, especially without guilt. Now, self care is the platform which I preach upon. That's where I put my soapbox down and I step up on my soapbox and I preach self care is important. Self care is part of our lives and it's something that we should not neglect. You can find me on a lot of different platforms
Mm-hmm.
preaching about self care. So I do that through Facebook, and we also have that on our website and through LinkedIn. And they're speaking at conferences and any retreats that's out there. Self care,
Awesome.
self care, self care.
So you're a
Think
big
of Dr.
advocate
Tamar
for
Beckford.
self-care. You're a big advocate for self-care, and I see you all over. I see you on many platforms teaching and preaching how to do this, and that's why we've had you. We have you on here
Hmm.
because we're seeing that there's a recurring theme of burnout, even with caregivers. So I see quite a few patients who have the burden of taking care of their parents, taking care of their children, and so there's a lot to handle there. And so I'm glad that you're here to discuss this topic. Now, before we go on, I wanted
Hmm.
to ask, how did you get, and I don't want to use the word tangled in this, but how did you get immersed in self-care? Like what was it for you?
That's a great question. So, as I am here, another thing that I should add to my list of things that I do is that I am an ER doctor. So, I'm a full time ER doctor, still working. And over the last 2 years, there's this little thing that's been going around called the pandemic. So,
Oh,
we are here immersed in the pandemic. So, one of the things that I've noticed about myself is that I'm still working full time. I'm working my business full time. And I
mm,
started to look around and wonder, like, why is it that I have not burned out to a crisp
mm,
during this period? As I did some introspection and started reflecting on my life, I recognized that it was because of some of the routines that I incorporated in my life during this process. And those routines have helped me to stay afloat in some respects. I mean, we're all waddling underneath, but I'm not underwater. Or if I do go under, I'm not staying under. And so I started reflecting and noticing that there are certain little habits that I had. And then I said, well, these habits are actually part of a self care routine. Now, when we discuss self care, which we will later on, you'll recognize that self care is a little bit more than what we're thinking, right? A lot of people hear the term self care and they're thinking, well, oh, yeah, well, I get my nails done every 2 weeks and I get my pedicure and I get my massage and my facial. So, yeah, but that's not the only part of self care. So, that is absolutely, if that's something that's important to you, it's a great part of your self care routine. However, self care adds more, it's an alignment of your mind, body, and spirit. So, as we discuss more, especially self care with our caregivers, that's why it's even more important. Now, if we think about our caregivers out there that, you're providing care, A lot of you, you've been doing it for a while. Some people, it's been thrusted upon you, probably within the last month or so. You had a family member, a loved one who was doing very well, and then boom, they're ill. A sudden accident, and then you're thrusted upon the fact that now you are a caregiver, a 24-hour caregiver. And it's challenging because as a caregiver, one of the things that you're doing is constant. There's a flow of energy that's going, but it might feel like it's one way. It's flow from you to the person whom you're taking care of, or you to the family, or you to whatever organization, community, and it feels as if it's a one-way street. Intermittently, you do feel that you get a little bit of feedback. You get this internal sense of gratitude, but for the most part you feel as if like you're flowing a one-way energy. And if you have anything that's streaming in one direction, eventually whatever that energy source is, the original source, will start to get depleted. And that's why it's so important for those who are caregivers for self-care to be an important part of their routine, because without that you get depleted. And if you get depleted, then the care that you're given can end up suffering. And as a result, you probably end up with more guilt, which is not what you want, right? You're doing this out of the kindness of your heart. You're doing this because you're probably duty bound. This is something that you are, it's a part of your core. And so that's why we know and we see how important it is for self care to be a part of the routine, even for those who constantly give care to others. So, okay, I guess we'll sit now and talk about why, and the alignment of self-care within the mind, body, and spirit. So within the mind, self-care, as we said, is an alignment, right? So when you're aligning yourself with self-care in the mind, it starts with mindfulness, understanding like who you are, and understanding that what you're doing has value, right? It's value oriented. So the care that you're giving to the other person, it's a very valuable care. And also adding that the care that you're given is the optimal care that you can give, right? So wherever you are at that moment, that's the best care that you can give to the others. It's also important to know that a part of the alignment of self-care, like we said, mind, body, and spirit, is for you to give, you also need to receive. And it's important for those who are self-care givers, especially those who or caregivers, I should say caregivers, to recognize the importance that you cannot do this alone, right? It's important that you have a tribe around you. And that's the spirit part of it, socialization, having alignment of others who are in support of you, who can help you to get through those processes, who can help you during the time of need. Because although you are giving care to others, you also need to be able to get care yourself, right? You need respite, time for yourself in order to replenish all that's going on within you. How do you replenish if you are not getting a time or a period of rest? So, rest is an important aspect of the self care process, but you can't do that if you are given constant care, especially if you're a 24-hour caregiver. How do you get rest if you're sitting there and you're constantly worried about the person, the loved one with whom you're taking care of? That's when you have to get your tribe, a community around you to help you, right? And to also get that community, you have to recognize that you can't do this on your own, right? You cannot do this on your own. So 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, for 365 days a year, it is challenging for you to try to be the sole person who takes care of another one. Because if you get depleted and you get not just run down emotionally or physically, but if you are unable to perform your duty, then that care ends up being under the duty of someone else. And if this is something that you do not want, then it's important for you to build your spirit and your body and your mind to prepare yourself so that you can do this for the long term. And you're doing this for the long term out of love and support and caring for others, right? And that's why it's important for you to have a surrounding, what we call a tribe, of people of constant support that you have. Now, I know sometimes that constant support might come as a part of, it might not be someone who's right beside you at that time. That
Right.
support might be someone who, it might be even far away. For example, like even now when we even talk about support, like Dr. Tolu and I, yes, we went to medical school together. So you
Mm.
might think, oh, well, you guys are right next door to each other. No, we were in medical school in New Jersey. And then after that, we went separate ways. And now we're still hours apart, but the support is still there, right? So the support comes through. And how did you find some of these support? It might not be, like I said, a physically close to you. The support might be through finding them through social media, through groups that are aligned with people, caregiver groups, like, caregiver support groups.
Support groups,
Yes, absolutely. It's
virtual and in person.
important, yeah, that you have those groups there, because with having that support, it's important for you to feel understood, and for you to have others who are in alignment with what you are going through in this period of time. And that's what those groups do. And the groups are part of socialization, and socialization is a part of self-care. That's the part of the spirit, alignment of spirit within the self-care routine.
Sorry, Dr. Tamara. I don't know what happened. I was trying to ask questions, and I was like,
Oh,
so
that's fine. We were talking.
all right, awesome, awesome. So I wanted to emphasize something really quick, and this is
Mhm.
something we have, almost repeated over and over in conversations with patients and with people in general. You're worried about, what would happen if you were not there to take care of somebody, or I don't have time to take care of myself because I got to do this, this, this. But if you were to break down all those things you're worried about, suffer. And so I'm going to address the first hiccup I hear people say about, well, self-care. Says,
Mhm.
what is even self-care? And it sounds like you got to be rich to do this.
Ah.
What would you,
Mm.
what would you, what would you say to that? Like, I'm on a budget and self-care, here's self-care all over the place. Like, I can't afford to self-care. What would you say to that person saying, it sounds like you got to be rich to do this? What would you say to that doc?
So I would say, yes, you do have to be rich, rich in spirit. And that's the
Ooh, I
thing.
like that.
It's not, so self care is not, and it's also replenishing that continuous flow within yourself. So the richness that comes from self care is not the monetary aspect, right? Because self care is an alignment of mind, body, and spirit. So your mind, align your mind. How do you do that? You aligned it with receiving positive information, receiving positive energy, and you don't have to pay money for that, right? So, an easy way for one to even start a self care routine, it's the simplest way, practicing gratitude. Now, I know when you are deep within the caregiver's role, and you're having a very challenging time, the
Mm.
hardest thing for you to do at that point is to think how grateful I am for A, B, or C. However, even just that small practice of gratitude, which is free, right? It just gives a richness to your life and your soul, but it's free to do. That small practice of gratitude
That's true.
helps you. So, what are some of the things that you're going to be grateful for when you're deep within the thrones of giving care to others? When you're just tired and your spirit is tired and your mind is tired, you look around you and you say, my hands, although they're tired, they're working. My body, although it's tired, it's working. I'm grateful for this body for holding me up through this night. That was such a challenging night for me, right? I'm grateful for the friend who gave me that call and gave me that
Mm.
support
Mm.
I'm grateful for that cousin who says, don't worry, tomorrow I'll take over for a few hours so that you can get a break. I'm grateful for the sun that's coming out and shining, and it's making me know that there's a brighter day coming. They're very, very powerful statements. And it's interesting because it's the way you phrase it also that helps, right?
Mm.
Not, oh, I'm glad that everything is going well. Mm-mm. Be specific, be
Mm.
intentional with your words, and you'll find the power within your words and how it changes how you feel. And be intentional with whom you bring into your circle. That's also a richness, right? The
Yeah.
richness is those who you have around you. So, do you have those who are around you that are rich monetary but poor support wise? And do you
Mm.
have those who financially might not be there, but they're rich with support? That's how you do it. And that's the important aspect.
I love this, and I want to emphasize some of these things sound very simple, but it's amazing how your brain actually aligns. When you practice gratitude, you help your brain to see opportunities for what they are, and
Yes.
there's a better outlook, and there's an empowering to that too. So
Yes.
I know some of these. Those of you who are watching this may say, "Oh yeah, you guys don't know my
This
life."
is foo.
Exactly. Find
Mhm.
things to be grateful for and speak them out. And
Yes.
then receiving compliments. When someone gives
Accept
you a
it.
compliment, accept it, sit in it for a little bit,
Mhm.
revel in it a little bit, and be like, you know what? That is true. I am awesome. Or I am
Yes.
doing a lot. Thank you. And draw strength from that.
Yes.
Because everyday life has a way of sapping energy, like you talked about. But those are things to do. Now, Doc, pick
Absolutely.
up number two. Doc, I'm busy. My life schedule is so busy, I have
Mhm.
no time. What would you say to that? I don't have
That's
time
the
to care.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. We all are busy, right? I think I love that word. Everyone's just like, oh, I'm empowered in the busyness. Do give me a call. I can't talk to you. I'm too busy, you know? However, you make time for things that are important to you, right? So are you busy because you scrolled on social media for 30 minutes?
Yeah.
Guilty. Well, are you busy? So those minutes. Now, it's not to say don't scroll on social media. However, you can intentionally carve out some time for yourself, because the other art of practicing self-care is carving out time for yourself that will empower you. We talked about the mind, right? So while you're scrolling on social media, are you scrolling and feeling envious of others and looking what is the emotion that it's evoking,
Mm,
right? Or is
mm,
just an emotion of escapism? I'm escaping from the reality of
reality.
my life right now. What about if you can take even 10 out of those 30 minutes to pour positive energy into yourself? That's part of self-care, right? The body is important. Those 30 minutes that you scrolled on social media, could it have been 30 minutes that you rest,
Mm,
right?
mm,
Could it have
mm.
been a 30-minute nap to empower your mind and to give your body rest? Those are intentional things that you can do, right?
There's a mindfulness to practicing self-care. And for those who are
Absolutely.
wondering, social media, you can set a limit. Okay, time to start, time to stop. So you have a good idea of what you spend. So you can focus on some self-care for yourself.
Some part of your self-care
So
routine. Absolutely. So
now
it's intentional, and at first it might be hard, but the more you do it and you practice, it's important. And I also want to add too that my big mindfulness thing, for those who are faith based, like Dr. Tolu and I, we're faith based. So my practice when I get up, the first thing that I'm doing is reading my Bible or my scripture, and trust me, it sets you for your intention for the day. It rarely, once you do that, and that's part of my self-care, and that's what I noticed that I was doing, reading instead of immediately grabbing my phone and jumping on social media. And that's what I call you entering into your day, and not like have your day enter into you. You
mm,
set the intention
set the
for your
pace,
day.
set the tone for your day. I love
Absolutely.
it. I love it. We have Dr. Mitra watching. We have Mercy
Hi,
watching.
Dr.
Thank you.
Mitra.
Thanks for watching. All right, Doc. Next question. And really want to emphasize the first few minutes of the day, like it can set the tone of the day. So practice self-care during that time is usually best.
Mm-hmm.
Reading your Bible, praying, meditating, and taking on the word for the day. All
Mm-hmm.
right. So that's good. Now, Doc, next question. uh, the next hiccup is this: it's selfish. I hear about self-care. You don't understand. It's very important for me to take care of people. Like, it's selfish to practice self-care. What would
Mm-hmm.
you say to that?
Absolutely. So that is the moniker that's out there. Practicing self-care is selfish. Now, I say, and as I was mentioning earlier too within the broadcast, is that those who are caregivers, there's a constant flow of energy that's in one direction,
Hmm.
right? The flow is going from the caregiver to those who you're taking care of. Now, when you're constantly having flow in one direction and you're rarely having the replenishing flow, what occurs is a depletion of that energy.
Hmm.
So if you are providing care constantly, but you're not being taken care of yourself, which is what self care is doing, then the quality of the care that you give, despite your intention in your heart, will decrease. And I know that's not what you want. And so the selfishness occurs when you don't take care of yourself, when
Hmm.
you don't replenish yourself, right?
Yeah.
That's where the selfishness occurs, because it's important for you, who you are, the glue that's holding your situation together. If your glue falls apart, the rest of it falls apart too.
That is awesome. It's almost selfish. It's essentially almost selfish to not take care of yourself because everyone else
Absolutely.
suffers. Wow, that is eye opening. And one of
Hmm.
the things I tell people is this: I'm not saying put yourself number one on the list, but put yourself
Hmm.
on the list. Put
Hmm.
yourself on the list. Things to do. Got to take care of this. Got to take care of this. Got to take care of me. Got a 5 minutes meditation. Something. Just put yourself on the list because
Put
that's very
yourself,
important.
and you make that intentional. As if someone said this weekend too, when you make a date with someone else, you rarely want to break that date. When you do self-care, you make a date with yourself and make it just as important.
Yes, and you said something earlier that I wanted
Mhm.
to reemphasize. Leverage your community.
Mhm.
I'm not saying, well, I'm supposed to watch you today, but I'm going to go do my nails because that's part of my self care. No,
Mhm.
it's your community. When people ask you, how can I help you? A lot of times there's a struggle with that. Oh, I'm good. No,
Yes.
I say this quite often. When God is going to send you help and you're praying for help and assistance, He will send you wisdom, He'll send you
Mhm.
instructions, and He'll send you people. He'll
Mhm.
send you people. So when those people come, so I have to teach my patients, like, recognize them for who they are. They're people that
Mhm.
help you. Lean.
Yes,
You help me do this. What are things that you could delegate to people who are
absolutely.
willing to help you? So this is awesome. Now the next one is another hiccup, Doc.
Mhm.
I am the one person that many people depend on. I am the person. I am
The
it, my
one.
family. I am the person that people come to.
I am the
So I
one.
cannot, I cannot be having self care.
Yes.
What
Yes,
would you say to
the
that?
one. No one else can do it but me.
Yep.
We all have that feeling that we have that special sauce. Like, oh, I'm the only one that can do it there.
The whole world.
And yes, so now the question is, do you want it done or not?
Hmm.
So you're the only one that can do it. So what will happen when you're not there? Is it going to get done?
Hmm.
So that second person who's going to help you and do a B plus job at this, when you're not there, guess who's going to be the one that's doing the job from then on?
Hmm.
So, as much as it's so important for you to get it done your way and to be the one, you have to recognize that when you're getting help from people who are giving you B plus work, you take that help. Because as we went back to the prior statement where I stated, when you're not around, no one else is going to do
Hmm.
it. No, you'll have others will do it, right? But if you do not take care of yourself, you better get used to that B plus work being the one that's doing it,
Hmm.
because you're not going to be able to do the work yourself, because you yourself is either broken or have to be taken away from the situation because you have not poured back into yourself. And self-care is you're taking care of others, but you're still making your appointment. You're still trying to get your making your appointment with your family care doctor, getting your screenings done, right? Not putting that off because I'm taking care of this loved one, not putting off that exam when you notice that lump. And then
Hmm.
you're not going further with it because I had to take care of it. I'm ignoring things that are going on within my body because I have to take care of this loved one. Self care is being aligned with yourself and making sure that you put yourself as a priority in order for you to take care of all the other tasks that are on your plate. And that's the importance of self care.
Now we're gonna, and I'm so happy that Mitra asked this question. She made a comment
Hmm.
here. She said it's so hard to give up my caregiver role for my mom to anyone else. I feel like I'm
Hmm.
letting her down. And this is for the sandwich generation, where you're taking care of kids and you're
Absolutely.
taking care of adult aging parents.
Yes.
How would you advise, one balance that? Because it almost seems like being there is part of being a good parent or child, like always being the one. What would you say to that salary generation on how to balance this?
Okay. So first, I'd love to honor all those who are caregivers. We've been talking about the role and we've been talking about how to do your role. But at the same time, I do want to honor you because you are giving your all. You are taking care. You are stepping up to the
Mm,
plate. Um, it is going to be challenging, but it's baby steps, as with everything, right?
mm,
So giving up at that role to someone to help you, it might not be today I'm 24 hours, 7 days a week, 365 days out of the year, and then I'm going to take a week long vacation. No, think about it just as when we had, for those of you who are parents, when you had to first allow someone to help you take care of your child.
mm,
That caregiver's role is similar, right?
mm,
You did baby steps. Maybe it's just a 30 minutes, have someone watch for 30 minutes while you take a walk, while you go to the grocery store, right? And then you add a few more. Maybe you'll have someone do it for a few hours, then even overnight, then you add on until you can trust and learn to develop that trust in that other person or that community to help you. Because as I mentioned, this consistent pouring of energy in one direction, it's not healthy for you, and as a consequence it won't be healthy for the person you're taking care of. So baby steps, it's not something for you to just jump into because it's challenging. You, when you're taking care of yourself, must feel as aligned and you must be as happy as when you are there taking care of your loved ones. So, baby steps in order to curtail or to give that role to someone else. Do it
I
a little
love
bit
that.
at a time.
Baby steps. And I like how you pushed, you kind of compared it to when you have a baby, you're watching the baby all the time, and then you have to delegate
Yes.
that care to someone else, be a babysitter or go to daycare, and it's gradual. So it's gradual. So now you're thinking about it, and sometimes like, hey mom, I'm going to just step off for a little bit. I'm going to have, but I had someone watch you. I just want
Mm-hmm.
to go maybe rest a little bit, do something, so I'm better equipped to take care of you and be present when I'm with you.
Mm-hmm.
So because ultimately the goal is for you to be better and for the people you care for to be
To
better.
be
It's not
better.
selfish care. Self care
Yes,
is not selfish. It is
absolutely.
it's integral to making sure our systems remain in place
Mm-hmm.
and we remain the powerhouses that we are in our families and everywhere else. This has been awesome, Doc. I've taken a few notes. That's why I was putting my head down just so I don't forget. Because we all need this lesson. For those who are watching live, those who are watching the replay, please share this with people who you know could benefit from this. It's not saying that you're not unique in how you care for everyone around you, but it's saying that for that uniqueness to last as long, we have to
Absolutely.
we have to practice self-care. So this has been awesome. So Doc, people are asking, where can I get this doctor to come speak at a conference
Mm-hmm.
that I'm hosting? Where can I get this doctor to come speak at this event that I want to talk about things related to self-care? Where can people find you, Doc?
Absolutely. So they can find me at Dr. Beckford at yourcaringdocs.com. That's URCARINGDOCS.com. And if you'd love to see more of my work, one of the things that I do speak on self care, and I also do interview a lot.
Mhm.
Is you can jump on my website. That's yourcaringdocs.com. URCARINGDOCS.com. And as I said, it's Dr. Beckford. So DR and my last name, B as in boy, ECK, F as in Frank, ORD at yourcaringdocs.com.
Awesome. And what I'm going to do is after this live, I'm going to put all that information in a post so people have a way to connect with
Mhm.
you. Thank you so much. I'm going to share this real quick before we close. Dr. Beckford and I go a long way, we've said, and she's always had this tendency to be a caring person. She was very helpful for me even when I was in medical school and I had some challenges. She was there for me. So I'm so happy to see you transition this and still maintain that.
Oh, thank you.
Transition this far and to still maintain that. So kudos to you. I love what you do, Doc. So thank you. Thank you. All
And
right.
I'm very proud of you too. So, sister power, guys.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. All right. That being said, thank you so much for watching. We're done. I hope to see you at our next live. And if anyone you know is looking for an awesome, a thorough, a passionate, caring doctor in the Mansfield, Texas area, I am she. Thank you.